And such people are just like cattle. Even with a PhD from MIT, yes, they're just like cattle. Rather, they're more misguided than cattle. When it speaks of a people who have eyes and yet they cannot see, it says it's not these eyes we're talking about. It's this eye, the internal eye. And now comes this very famous statement concerning the Antichrist, about which we are still fighting in Islam. He said, every prophet has warned his people about the Antichrist. Well, in English, in Arabic, it's Dajjal. So let them become accustomed to the terminology now. Every prophet has warned his people about Dajjal. And the prophet Noah warned his people about Dajjal. But I'm going to tell you something that no one ever said before me. Dajjal sees with his left eye. He's blind in the right eye. It looks like a bulging grape. But your Lord is not one eye. Between his eyes on his forehead is written, disbeliever. And every believer will be able to see it, whether he is literate or illiterate. We have people who are waiting for a one-eyed man. It was Nelson, Lord Nelson. It wasn't Nelson.
Don't blame him on me.
It wasn't Moshe Dayan. Moshe Dayan was a great general. Because they interpret it literally. We on this side of the fence in Islam, who recognize this as religious symbolism, we say no, this is an epistemological problem. The left eye symbolizes external sight and therefore knowledge externally acquired. The blind right eye symbolizes internal blindness and therefore an incapacity to receive knowledge internally.
5 minutes.
Time up.
5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. Very generous. And knowledge externally acquired is absolutely important. A very keen observation of events unfolding in politics, in economics, in monetary economics, the irreversible meltdown of the US dollar that we've been anticipating for years now. A keen observation and an effort to understand with the external eye events unfolding in politics and economics is absolutely important. But there is also the necessity for internal, intuitive, spiritual insight to go beyond the external word to reach its internal substance. And that is where we are having our debate now in Islam. And I'm at the center of that debate. That you cannot understand the world today unless and until you recognize that appearance and reality on all things connected with the Antichrist are opposite to each other. And unless and until you see with the internal eye in addition to the external sight, you'll be deceived and misguided. You will not be able to understand and interpret the world today. This is a debate from our side, and we agree with you that looking at the words and putting the words together and forming a map, you can be wrong. We agree with you, yes.
Is there a question you want to ask me?
If the events that have been unfolding in the Holy Land that I have described earlier are not happening randomly, by chance. In which case, of course, the cow can jump over the moon. If there is an explanation for what is unfolding in the Holy Land, it will be something of vital importance for everyone here present tonight. And it is such a sad thing that I'm not seeing more African faces here tonight. I don't know Cape Town, what explanation you have for that. Of vital importance, because if we understand what has so far unfolded, we can anticipate what is to come, and we can interpret what is to come. And we who belong to the religious way of life would want to maintain integrity, would want to have eyes with which to recognize oppression, and you were part of the struggle, as you told me, in this country against oppression. Because oppression and religion don't sleep on the same bed.
But isn't that, if I may say so, and I hope I'm not offending people here, let me just say what I would have said if we'd had more time up there. I have a deep sympathy for the Jewish people. And I think as Christians we owe them a deep apology for the incredible suffering that we've caused them over centuries. And that would apply also to Islam. I think that what they have gone through, and not least in the latter years under the Nazi Holocaust, I think is absolutely appalling. And the world did not help, and went through noises and so on, but did not take the people in, even at the end of it all. So the modern state of Israel is almost a survival mechanism. I can understand why people who have been rejected by the world and treated like that should want a place of their own. Where I have a problem, though, is when Christians use the Bible to say that what's happening in Israel is a fulfillment of prophecy. Because when I was in Israel, what I found was a largely secular state. I mean, there are some very orthodox Jews, but the state functions almost in many cases without belief. And when you look at the way it operates vis-a-vis the Palestinians, you have to say it's founded on injustice and unrighteousness and cruelty. When I was in Israel, a Palestinian man said to me, I can understand why the Jews need to find a land of their own. What I can't understand is, after all their sufferings, why they cause us now to suffer in the same way. Now, if you're going to call that the fulfillment of prophecy, it has to be founded on righteousness. In fact, it's interesting, I came across one of the more fundamental Christian books that was saying this is a fulfillment of prophecy, and quoted a passage from Jeremiah. Significantly, he left out the preface that says, if you return to me, this will happen. All he said was that the people would be gathered together. He quoted another passage from Isaiah chapter 10, which is all about the remnant. But the remnant is a righteous remnant. So I don't see how Israel, as it stands, can be a fulfillment of prophet. The prophets would say, if you go that way, you're going to lose the land, not gain it. And the sadness for me is that Christians are using the Bible in such a way that they support what's going on in the face of Palestinians, some of whom are their Christian brothers, as well as, of course, Muslims. And I think that itself is unjust. I hope that doesn't tread on too many corns, but I actually believe one has to say that. And it's why I couldn't see it as a sign of the end.
Well, the Quran...
Maulana, sorry, if we can end this session with your answering or discussing that last point.
Okay. I'll just take a minute. The Quran supports you. Yes, it does. In the 21st chapter, entitled The Prophets, the Quran declares, only my servants who are righteous in conduct will inherit this land. Only those. And righteousness